Hi there, and thank you for joining us. We'll be starting in a minute. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, guys. We'll just give it a few more seconds to allow a couple more people to join, and then we'll get started. Okay, I think we'll get cracking then. Thank you guys for joining us. Today we're going to be looking at computing as a subject area, but we're going to start off the session with something a little bit different, where we've got sort of a TED talk about deep fakes. So can we trust what we see? That's going to be delivered by one of our professional tutors in computing from the University of Central Lancashire. We'll give you some information about the subject area at each of our universities, and then we'll be open to questions. So please feel free to pop your questions into the Q&A box throughout the session, and we'll address them at the end. And so what I think we'll do, so that you know who we all are, is we'll just do a brief round of very quick introductions. So my name's Jill. I'm the regional manager for the Middle East and North Africa at the University of Central Lancashire, and we're based up in the northwest of England. And I'm joined today by Ollie. Ollie, if you want to just do a quick intro.
Hi everybody, my name's Oliver Kerr, or Ollie, as Jill says. I'm a professional tutor in computer science. If you come to us, you'll see a lot of me in my first year. I do a lot of first year programming, but today's a little bit different, a little bit more of what I'm interested in, which is artificial intelligence and how we can create content using AI.
Great, thank you. And should we skip across? We'll stay in the northwest. We'll head over to Matthew.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, my name is Matthew from Liverpool John Moores University. Again, I'm the regional manager for the Middle East and North Africa, and we're based in Liverpool, which is near to Manchester and 2 hours from London. Thanks.
Thank you. And we'll go straight down to Hamza.
Hello, so I'm Hamza from Nottingham Trent University. We're based in the middle of the country, 2 hours from Manchester, 2 hours from London.
Great, thank you. Shall we hop across to Diane?
Hi, I'm Diane Weston from the University of Kent, down here in the southeast corner of the UK in Canterbury.
Thank you. And over to Emma.
Hello, my name's Emma and I'm from the University of Portsmouth on the south coast, which is 90 minutes by train from London.
Thank you. And also not with us today is our colleague Ian, who's from the University of Northumbria, which is based in Newcastle, which is in the northeast of the UK. So we will talk about some of the courses that they offer as well at the end. So without further ado, I'll stop sharing my screen, and I think we'll just pass straight over to you, Oliver, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Share the screen. I'll share sound as well, because there's going to be a little video clip on it. Can you all see that now? Can you see the slides all coming through?
Yes, that's working.
Brilliant. Okay. So I'd say my name's Oliver Kerr. A lot of my interests, aside from what I'll be doing with you next year, if you do come to us, is within how we can use AI and how we can use it to create new and exciting content. But this has two sides. It can be really exciting, it can generate some really cool things, but it can also have some very dangerous, potentially unethical uses as well. So what we're going to be talking today is about something called deepfakes, and can we really trust what we see online? So we live in a world of fake news, to coin a phrase. Almost half of the adults in the UK say they get their main source of news from social media. And it can be quite difficult sometimes to identify what's actually real and what's fake when you're looking through websites like Facebook or Twitter. And this is because you can be targeted with specific content. And this leads to something called confirmation bias. And I'll give you an example of this. If you supported the Manchester United football team, you would be browsing around online for Manchester United games. You might be searching for the t-shirts to buy, and you'll generally have an online profile which has positive connotations about Manchester United. And that makes you more likely to be targeted with certain types of content. So if, for example, a publisher writes an article about saying Manchester United is the best football team in the world, they could target that advert to you. Whereas somebody who maybe supports Liverpool would not likely get that piece of content. They would maybe get another article that says Liverpool's the best football team in the world. And it's possible that the same publisher would write both of these articles because they get paid for your clicks. They get paid for when you go on and the adverts that they serve to you. Okay, so everything you see online, there's usually some shape or form where people are making money off it. And particularly on websites like Facebook and Twitter, where you can target these adverts. So what are deepfakes? Deepfakes are images or video which have been manipulated using artificial intelligence. So this is where existing images or videos can be altered, or we can generate entirely new content. So completely from scratch, completely unique content generated using AI, okay? And these videos, these images have a great potential for spreading fake news. Now I'm just going to show you two examples of deepfake. So this is the first one. So we'll play a little bit of this video.
I wish I could keep telling you that our mission in life is connecting people, but it isn't. We just want to predict your future behaviors. Spectre showed me how to manipulate you into sharing intimate data about yourself and all those you love for free. The more you express yourself, the more we own you.
Now, if you don't know who that is apparently, that's Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook. And what he's saying there is that they want to take your data, they want to exploit you. Now, do you really think that's something Mark Zuckerberg would say, which could potentially cause a lot of damage to his company? I'll just leave you to think about that for a second. So here's a second example of a deep fake.
First I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side.
I think that's enough of that.
But I spent
It seems to be a theme within the deepfake community of putting Nicolas Cage's face onto different people. So I think we'll leave it at that. But there's two different examples there. One's quite funny, quite jovial. It's not really doing too much harm. And the other could be potentially quite serious. So just quickly in the chat, what do you think of deepfakes so far? Do you think they're good? You know, they're doing some really quite cool things with AI. Or do you think they're bad? Do you think that there's, you know, a lot of harm which could be done with them? I'll just give you a few seconds just to pop in the chat if you think they're good or bad. Okay, well, we'll move on. Oh, is somebody coming in now? QA. Oh, the chat is disabled. Okay, right, okay. We'll move on. So just keep your thoughts yourself and we can always have a chat about them later on. So some things to consider. And this first point is quite an interesting one. Is it a form of art? The example from Mark Zuckerberg, the first video I showed you, is actually from an art project from an artist called Spectre. Now, are there ethical issues with creating deepfakes? With that video of Mark, he was saying things which could be potentially harmful to his company. That wasn't Mark there, that was an actor sat in front of a camera and Mark Zuckerberg's face has been mapped onto him. So you can imagine the potential for making things, you know, appear as if somebody's saying something which is completely untrue. How would you feel if you were browsing through Facebook and you saw a video of yourself saying things which could be mean about one of your friends, and it's completely false, okay? And we also have to consider how these deepfakes are being generated. Now, there's lots of apps around which you can download yourself, so where you can map your face onto different things. But where's the images that you're processing actually going? Quite often they'll be uploaded to computers, to servers in different countries, and they may not have particular laws which protect your data. So you always have to be careful. And this isn't just when it comes to uploading pictures, it's anything to do with your own personal data online. Always think about, is your privacy being protected? And also, is it legal? Could it be used to commit fraud? Could it be copyright infringement? So the second example, so Nicolas Cage, his face is taken from multiple movies, and we're editing a movie there, okay? So we're infringing on copyright just by making this simple video. And deepfakes have actually been banned by Facebook and Twitter, although funnily enough, they allowed the Mark Zuckerberg one to stay on the website for a little while on Facebook. And specific deepfake laws are being considered by countries like China, the US, and the UK. So this is a really big topic. It's really at the forefront of artificial intelligence and how we look at the laws surrounding that. As we say, deepfakes are a form of AI, but AI is a very broad term. Typically, the way I like to look at things is AI can be defined as the engineering of making intelligent machines and programs. So it's an example of this could be an expert system. So, for example, if you had a medical expert system, so you could input your symptoms and it could give you an estimate of maybe what's wrong with you. So say you could have a particular virus or an illness. A subset of AI is something called machine learning. And this is where programs can learn without being explicitly told how to do specific things. So, good example of this is if you're wanting to create a website which allows you to sell used cars, we can create predictive models to predict how much your car is going to be worth. And we can take in all kinds of different features. So it could be the color, the engine, the mileage, the condition, all of these different features, and come out with an estimate of what your car's worth. And these can be really quite reliable. And finally, we come on to something called deep learning. Now, this is where we use something called neural networks, which are modeled on the human brain to perform some very complex computations. Now, deepfakes are generated using neural networks. And we train neural networks by giving them large amounts of data. Now, you probably can't hear it, but on the computer behind me, I'm training a neural network myself. It's something which is widely used for lots of different purposes. And a common use of neural networks actually is called image classification. So this is where we train an algorithm to identify different images. So an example of this could be identifying the difference between cats and dogs, okay? And we take a large data set, so hundreds and thousands of images, which have all been labeled, whether they're cats or dogs, and we feed them into this neural network. And the network will learn the different features of a dog and the different features of a cat and be able to tell the difference between the two. So we can use an image classifier to help us generate these deepfakes. And we do this with a particular type of neural network called a generative adversarial network. And basically, we have two networks working against each other. So we have one, which is the discriminator, we call it, which is just an image classifier. It's been trained to recognize certain images. And the second network is called the generator. So it generates entirely new images from random noise. So to begin with, we'll start off with completely random images, and it'll be fed to the discriminator, and I'll give it some feedback. And it's a little bit like if you were stood in a bank and you had a piece of paper and you wanted to create some fake money, okay? But you don't know what the money looks like. So you would just draw some scribbles on the paper, and you'd give it to, I don't know, the bank manager. And they would say, no, that's not money. And they'll give you some feedback as how to improve it. And then over hundreds and thousands of iterations, you'll eventually get to a point where you can draw the money and it can be accepted. And that's exactly how these GANs work, these generative adversarial networks. It'll get to a point where the generator produces an image which is convincing enough to fool the discriminator. So, I know the chat isn't working, but just take a few seconds. Which of these images do you think is of a real person and which is completely fake? So it's not an image which has been edited, it's completely fake. It's been generated from scratch using AI. Give it a few seconds. Now, if you said the image on the left is completely fake, you'd be correct, okay? And with images which have been produced by GANs, we can usually see some little giveaways. So this is quite a good example. So if we look at the top of the head, we can see some artifacts. So some blurring where it's not quite right. Also, it's good to look around the ears. GANs struggle with symmetry, and particularly you can see the distortion around the ear. Now, naturally, you know, our ears aren't always symmetrical, but it's a particular area where you can usually spot whether the GANs made some mistake, and you'll quite often see it in the eyes as well. And also the background, you'll usually get some distortion of the background, so it's more obvious than not. But if you have a image which is on a plain background, it's more likely that that's going to be generated by AI, because the background adds a real background would add a lot of complexity to it. So to say, GANs aren't perfect. They require a huge amount of computing power in order to generate it. It's too much of a moment to be done on your phone or your tablet. So this may require you uploading pictures or different content to a server, so somebody else's computer in a long way away. And that goes back to the privacy issues we were talking about before. Where's this content going? Who has control of it? Is it going to be kept safe? You don't know for sure. And also you're limited by the training data quality. So if you feed into your image classifier lots of poor quality images, the output you'll get will also be of a poor quality. And they're also saying that it takes a long time to train these GANs. It literally can take weeks to do, depending on how complex the model is. And you may also need some extra video or audio editing to make a really convincing result, like the Mark Zuckerberg example earlier on. So they're not perfect, but they have come a long way in the last few years. This has only maybe been around for the last 5 years at most, and the technology is advancing all the time. And they aren't only used for generating these funny pictures. They can be used in something called image translation. So if you take a picture at night, for example, they could change it to day. If you've got a low resolution image, so if it's quite blotchy with different, with pixels, they can make it a high resolution image. They can make it a clearer, crisper image. It can also be used for generating images from text and generating 3D avatars for games. So you can have a totally unique player, which is just unique to you on your game. Now, I'm just going to briefly talk about another use of neural networks for generating fake content, which technically isn't a deep fake, but it's strangely convincing. It's quite scary, actually. Now, this is something called InferKit. So this is a service which is available, and it's the underlying network is something called a transformer AI. If you want to go on and have a look at this for yourself, you just search things for something called GPT-3. This is the absolute cutting edge of AI research. So I fed in a little bit of text for my university profile. So I gave it 3 lines for my profile on the website, and it was going to generate some text for me. Okay, so it doesn't know anything about me. All it's doing is predicting what word is going to come next in the sentence, and it'll carry on to produce a whole paragraph. So the first thing it comes out with is it lists some of my interests. So it says I've got interest in coding, statistics, computational methods, computer science, cognitive science. That's all true, but that's all come by chance. It also says I started as as an undergraduate student at university in 2001. Now, I was 5 years old in 2001, so I don't think that's quite right. Again, it doesn't know anything about me. It's just trying to predict what word is going to likely come next. So it's already producing quite a convincing result. It also came up, says that I'm currently serving as a chairman of the NUS Computer Science and Computing Board. Now I've checked, that doesn't exist, okay? And finally, this is my favorite bit. It says, I enjoy cooking and I have a specialist chef certificate. I wish that was true. So you can see how AI can be used to generate this really quite convincing content. And if you didn't know anything about me, you just read this paragraph, you would believe it to be true. And if you've never seen an image of me before, and I just put one of these deep fake images, you could believe that I look completely different to how I do, and you could believe a whole load of facts about me, which could be completely wrong. And all of this false information, this fake news, is being generated using AI. So just to summarize, deepfakes, the absolute cutting edge of deep learning research. They're fantastic and they're growing at an exponential rate. But there are some very significant drawbacks and potential, specifically around how they can be used to spread fake news. And there's lots of privacy, ethical, and legal concerns around that. But also they're computationally expensive at the moment. Our phones, our tablets, our computers at home, we're all getting quicker and quicker. And the technology which is being used to generate these images and this text is becoming more advanced, but also it's being developed in a way to reduce the complexity. So it's only a matter of time, certainly within the next 5 years, that you can generate this kind of content very easily. And so that's why it's such a big issue. There's so much debate about how they should be, if they should be illegal or not. But it's a real serious issue. Just to quickly summarize about computer science at UCLan, we have a number of courses in software engineering, computer games development, cybersecurity, and network design. And we always offer a common first year. So what this does, it allows you to work with students from across a number of courses. And if you say join us, you intend to be a software engineer, but you find you maybe like networking or cybersecurity a bit more, you have the option to change going into your second year. We also run something called the 4-week challenge, the computing challenge, right at the start of the year, which will give you a great chance to develop an Android app within the first 4 weeks of your degree. And it's all about teamwork, because computer science is really about teamwork. And it's a fantastic way of getting yourself into university. There's just one last thing I'd want to say is, if you've never done programming before and you're still considering a degree in computer science, don't let that stop you. One of my main jobs is to help new students get into programming. So I do a lot of research on how we can help you understand programming. So if that's a worry for you, don't let it put you off at all. And at that, I'll hand back to Jill.
Thanks, Oliver. That was really good. It absolutely blows my mind. My head can't take it all in. But thank you. Really, really interesting. And if any people watching have any questions at all, please do pop them in the Q&A. So what we're going to do now is hand back over to the other university representatives. I'm just going to share the slides. We're going to start with Matthew, who can tell us a bit more about computing at Liverpool John Moores.
Hi, Jill. Thanks very much. And thanks, Ollie. That was really interesting. I particularly like those videos, those deepfake videos. Slightly disconcerting, isn't it, that people can create those of you. So a little bit about computing options at Liverpool John Moores. As I said before, we're based in the city of Liverpool. It's near to Manchester. We are 2 hours from London. We've got a number of strong connections with local companies, a number of our programs, similar to my colleagues here. You have the option of doing perhaps a sandwich year where you can have a year in industry, or the option for a placement there. And as you can see, we work with a number of well-known UK or international companies, including Fujitsu and IBM, and also Sony Computer Entertainment. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. We offer a wide range of courses kind of in the broad computer field, from kind of standard computer science, computer network, computer security, to perhaps more or creative courses such as computer games development using the Sony system as I described, and then perhaps now data science, and also computers and smart devices. So a number of programs available across computer science. Our tuition fees for this year for those courses are £16,100, and all self-funded students would get a scholarship of £3,000 in the first year, followed by a recurring £1,000 every year. If you're applying for next year, for 2022, the fees will be going up by, I think it's by £500, so the fee will be £16,600. But for students starting in 2022, that £3,000 scholarship will be repeated every year. So it really depends on where you're coming from in terms of your entry requirements, and whether you're coming from perhaps a Middle Eastern high school, Thanawiya, Tawjiya kind of national curriculum, or if you're coming from an A-levels or an IB, and perhaps we can answer some specific entry requirement questions at the end, because I'm sure they'll be similar across the other universities. So Jill, I'll hand back to you and to my next colleague, but really look forward to answering some questions. Thank you.
Hello, yes, this is Emma from the University of Portsmouth. As you can see, Portsmouth is a seaside city on the south coast of the UK. I've already mentioned that we're 90 minutes from London, so you can't live in London and study at Portsmouth, but it's not too far away to visit for day trips and weekends. But Portsmouth's a much more affordable city to live in, and a much easier place to get around. So the university is based in the city centre, not far from this picture that you can see here. It's only about a 5-minute walk. And you can basically walk anywhere you want to in the city very easily, which means that once you're in the city, the cost of living is not too much. In terms of computing, we have a huge range of courses, both within the School of Computing, but also in our School of Creative Technologies. So on the next slide in a minute, I'll show you the range of, I'll show you the range of courses, but I just wanted to go through some of the kind of features of them, and some of them are similar to other universities. Like, for example, we offer placement years on all our courses, and we've got dedicated placement offices in each faculty. So that means that you can get support to gain your place. You can also do exactly like other universities have mentioned. If you start on one course and you feel that actually computer networks is not your thing, and actually you'd really like to go into more of the kind of creative side of things, there is that option to move across. Obviously, you need to be gaining good grades and prove that before you move, but there is that option from kind of the first year into the second year. We do a lot of collaboration between faculties. So we've got 5 faculties at the university, and the computing courses range through our technology, business and creative faculties. So you have quite a range of faculties you're going to be working alongside and kind of getting different units from each one. We've got specialist labs in cybersecurity and forensics, high performance computing, network and usability. To be honest, most of that, I've got no clue what that means, but it sounds very professional. And the whole point of this is that we are gearing you up for the workplace and using equipment and the facilities that you would use if you were going into a professional career. Something that is very exciting, even for me as a non-computing person, is that we have a professional motion capture facility. So a green screen, and they can recreate, you know, games and all that kind of technology that is very, very up to date and modern. And in October, we are opening the Centre for Creative and Immersive Extended Reality. Now, this is unique to Portsmouth, and it's unique to the UK as well, because this is the only one of its kind that's going to be a permanent facility. So all these courses, these computing courses, Jill, if you can move on to another slide, please, you could get the chance to use this, this extended reality centre. So, back one.
I'm really sorry, it's being silly. Hold on.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So the top courses are computing courses, which are quite standard to what everyone else has been talking about as well, with computing and computer science and things like that. And then the bottom section is our computer games, animation and digital technologies courses. And I actually couldn't fit them all on. So I've pulled out the kind of key ones, the ones that are the most popular, and listed them here. Now, for all of these courses, we are looking for students who have got 3 A levels or equivalent, around ABB, BBB, something like that. And it depends on your background as to what we'll accept. The only course that we would require a portfolio would be animation. The rest of the courses, we teach you all the design skills in the first year. So we don't require a portfolio, but we would just need to see an interest in your personal statement. Our courses are £17,600 for these type of courses because they're all lab-based. And we do have scholarships available. So a lot of nationalities get a £1,600 discount for year one, and there are more scholarships as well. So thank you, and I'll move on to Diane now.
Thanks, Emma. So I'm Diane from the University of Kent. We are located, as I said before, right in the southeast corner of the United Kingdom. We're about 50 minutes by train from London, and in the city of Canterbury. Which is a very beautiful medieval city. We're a campus university, very green campus, so everything is in one place, all your accommodation, all your sports facilities, cafes, restaurants, whatever, it's all in one location. Now, specifically about computing, these are the programs that we do. There's quite a variety of them, and as with the others, sometimes it is possible to do your first semester or your first year and then move to a different one. But that would be in negotiation with the academics. Most of our program, well, all of the programs within computing have the option of doing 1 year in industry, so where you have a 1 year work placement, which very often you will get paid for as well. And they all have the option of doing having a foundation program if you need to do a foundation program. So it could be a 1 year international foundation program, or we've also got, especially for the data science one, the option of doing a 4 year integrated program where your first year is foundation. And then you just progress on to the rest of your degree. We take students from just about every single education background, so it doesn't really matter what you're studying at school. We will consider your application. And we're looking again for about ABB, BBB, something like that. It's not necessary for most of the programs to have A-level maths or equivalent, but for a lot of the, well, for all of the programs, you need the equivalent of a GCSE in maths. We have got all the professional accreditations. We've got gold in the Teaching Excellence Framework. And there's a link here for more information about the computing programs. Next slide, please, Jill. Thank you. So just a couple of examples here of where our students have gone on to do their work experience, some really big companies, well-known companies. Our fees are £20,500, but we have got quite a wide variety of scholarships available. Some of them are automatic £2,000 reduction in your course fees, depending on your academic grades. And we've got some music and sports scholarships available as well. The facilities, like most universities in the UK, facilities are great. We've got this place here called The Shed, which is specifically for students doing kind of computing or kind of programs, where you can just go and have a little play around with different equipment outside of your classes. So people will be building things and collaborating on projects and just doing things that you're interested in, which aren't assessed as part of your program. So great facilities, and please do feel free to ask any questions should you wish. I'll now hand over to my colleague Hamza.
Hello, thank you very much, Diane. So yes, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our computer science courses as part of our School in Science and Technology as well. So just on the courses, we offer a wide range of computer science courses, starting or ranging from computer science on its own, computer science with mathematics, games technology, and cybersecurity as well. We also offer an NComp in computer science. So if you know you want to study your bachelor's and master's within computer science, we offer a 4 or a 5-year program in that as well. Very similar to my colleagues, where our courses also give you the opportunity to complete a year placement in industry as well, giving you that practical experience that is required for the courses. And in terms of the requirements for the course, as you can see, we accept A levels, the IB and the American curriculum, as well as any national curriculum that you might be sitting in your schools at the moment. A little bit about our facilities. So the facilities or the courses are taught on our Clifton campus, which is about 20 minutes away from the city centre. There are direct bus links that go to and from our city and Clifton campus day and night. So there's no worry about whether you'd want to stay at Clifton or stay at the city campus. With them both being very close together, students will sort of intermingle between campuses. But on the Clifton campus, we have a robot arena, a games consoles lab where we have our Xbox development suite as well. We have a networking and security lab, and also a human interactive technologies lab as well. So for those of you that are interested in AI, that human interactive lab is definitely something that I'd be interested as well. In terms of the lecturers at the university, they've worked in a wide range of sectors, from Fujitsu to the US Department of Homeland and Security as well. So the people that you'll be taught by do have practical experience working within the computing and IT industry as well. And we try and impart as much as we can to give you the practical skills, so that when you do enter the world after graduating, you're able to accumulate as best a role as you possibly can. For September 21, the fees are £15,800 British pounds, but as my colleague Matthew said, for next September they may be changing and they may be going up by about £500 as well. But we do offer a wide range of scholarships, from £2,000 off every year of your undergraduate study, and we also offer scholarships from 50% off the first year and then £2,000 off the remaining years of your study as well. So if you do have any questions, please do pop them in the comment section after, and I'd be happy to answer them. So I will pass on.
Thanks, Hamza. So I'm just going to cover for Ian, who unfortunately hasn't been able to make it to today's session. So Northumbria University in Newcastle, which is based up in the northeast of England. They've got a really great computer science, cybersecurity and AI profile within their university. So there's lots of fantastic facilities. They've got their Institute of Coding, which has been set up as well. I don't know too much more, so I can't go into that much detail about it, but we will give you the contact details for Ian, and you can get in touch with him directly about all of their unique selling points. But in terms of the programs that they've got available, those are shown on the screen now. These will be 3-year bachelor programs. The entry requirements are quite similar to everybody else. So you're looking about 120 UCAS points, which is, I think 3 B grades. They also accept IB and a range of other curriculums as well. So if you can't see your curriculum on the screen now, you can just drop him a line and he'll be able to advise further for you. Their fees are £16,000 per year. There are some scholarships available, so they can try and make that a bit more affordable for you as well. And I imagine that those fees may well fluctuate if you are looking at starting in 2022 or beyond. So in all of the excitement of getting everything ready for today, I forgot to upload my own slide with information on. Oliver did talk about some of the provision that we have at the university, but I did just want to mention our entry requirements and our course fees as well. So we are looking at the fees being around £14,000 per year, but we do have really fantastic scholarships available. So some students can see up to a £5,000 per year discount on those fees. Some of them will be based on your academic scores as well. So the higher you achieve, then the more chances there are of you being able to reduce those tuition fees. And in terms of the entry requirements, we're looking at 96 UCAS points. So that is where you're looking at about 3 C grades at A level. And we also have a very flexible admissions policy. So we're not looking to see any particular subject areas in order for you to come onto these programs, and we will give you all the tools that you need to be successful. And also all of our courses in the School of Computing are accredited by the British Computer Society, and you're going to receive free membership as well to that. And then after that, you'll be able to progress onto a professional membership when you graduate. So there's lots of exciting opportunities. On the screen now, we've got all of our contact details. So take a screenshot, make a note of our email addresses or our telephone numbers. They will be available on the recording from this event as well. So we have got a couple of questions. So if I could ask all colleagues to pop their screens back on, please. And we'll start with just a couple of the questions. So the first one, actually, I think Oliver, you might be the best to answer this. So we've had a question. Do I need any specific equipment or technology when I start a computing program at a university?
Yeah, I mean, with COVID, it's definitely been a bit more difficult because traditionally you would be going into your own laboratories and using the computers there. And that's how a lot of students do tend to do their work. Obviously, it depends on what area of computer science you go down. But generally, we always recommend students get a reasonably powered Windows laptop. So if you want to note down some specifications, you'd be looking at something like an Intel i5 processor, minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM, or ideally 16 gigabytes of RAM. And then your hard drive, you'd need probably a minimum of 256 gigabytes. There will be specifics if you went for maybe a networking course, but obviously for that, all the equipment will be provided on campus. But generally, we don't recommend anything like a Chromebook or MacBooks. Generally are not recommended. So I would guess for all universities, we would recommend a reasonable spec Windows laptop, which range in probably from about £500 upwards.
Great, thank you very much. We've had another question here as well, and this could be one of the university representatives. Are your teaching staff, so the academics, do they come from industry? Emma, I wonder if you might be able to address that one.
Yes, so we have a real mixture. It really depends on the member of staff. So for example, just in our computing school, we've got 60 members of staff. So some of them will have progressed through university into research and then become a teacher through that. But others have definitely come from industry and a wide range of industries. And I think more so in our creative technologies department, our staff there have come from a huge range of industries, and including, I think we've even got one member of staff who came from Walt Disney at one point. So that really interesting backgrounds and contacts in the industry that you can kind of tap into when you're on your course.
Great, thank you very much. And we've got another question about placement. I know that a few of us did mention it in the talks that there are placement opportunities. So Matthew, do you guys offer placements in your computing programs at LJMU?
We do offer it on most of our programs, yes. Students do need to specify that when they make their application, and we have a team that then can help them secure those placements, as we'll describe, with a wide range of computing related firms, either in the Northwest or around the country. It's a great opportunity to get experience. As many people listening here will know, one of the great things about coming to the UK now is the opportunity to apply for the graduate route visa. That's something which enables you to stay in the UK for an additional 2 years after you graduate. And of course, those students who've taken up that opportunity to take a placement year between their second and third year, they've already got that experience. Perhaps they've really shined in that company they've worked for. So that will increase the potential for them to secure some work if they take that 2-year graduate work visa opportunity. So yeah, we really recommend it. We encourage it. Most of those courses within computer science offer that opportunity, and we have a team that will help students find a placement.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And we've just got one last question. And again, Oliver, I think that this might be one that's aimed for you, or you've probably got more experience than the rest of us on it. Is how much of the course is based on theory and how much is practical? So it might be quite UCLan oriented, your answer, but just as a rule of thumb, can you offer any guidance?
Yeah, generally it varies per course, but the approach we take is we will give you the practical skills and then we'll build a theory on top of that. It is a case of we're preparing you for workplace, for working in the computer science industry. So there is definitely theory there. Theory underpins everything we do. There'll be a certain degree of mathematical theory, but we try to keep that as limited as we can. But there's always a scope to do more. And generally, whatever you do, it'll gradually get more complex as you go throughout your degree. So you start off with, we'll get you the fundamentals, we'll get you the basics, build up the key concepts, and we'll introduce more theory as you go along.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And I think that really then just draws us to a conclusion. So thank you to everybody for taking part. We do have one final event of this season next week, where we will be doing top tips to help you prepare for your UK university study in 2021. So if you're looking at starting university in the UK this year, please join us and we'll tell you all sorts of really interesting information, and we will be joined by existing students as well who'll be able to share some of their thoughts and opinions and things they wish they knew before they arrived as well. So thank you for your time, and have a good rest of the day.
Bye, thanks.
Thanks, bye.